Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
17 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm going to come to your calls and your WhatsApp voice notes in a moment. But as the B20 Summit kicks off, we are in conversation with Nedbank, proud sponsors of the B20 Summit. This year, we are part of history as the summit happens for the first time ever on African soil. And this is the continent's moment to shift from inclusion to influence. But how will finance serve as a lever for development, for infrastructure, energy security, and inclusive growth across Africa? Well, to find out more, today we're in conversation with Dr. Terence Sibiya, who is the managing executive for the rest of Africa and subsidiaries at Nedbank on 702. Nedbank, as you know, is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Dr. Sibiya, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks for having me, and good morning to the listeners.
This G20 presidency has been called Africa's moment, a chance for the continent to move from inclusion to influence. What does this shift actually mean in practice?
Clement, that's a very good question, and I think it's important for us to also just contextualize what G20 is for the benefit of the listeners. First of all, G20 is an international forum. It's actually got 19 countries, plus then the European Union and the African Union, and they typically get together at these summits to discuss global economic and financial issues. Really, their purpose is to also try and promote international economic cooperation, etc., and also address some pressing global challenges. But for our purposes, Clement, this means, as it's the first time it's happening on the African continent, it means that for the first time we won't be just participating in global finance. We're actually going to help shape it. For the longest time, Africa has just been a follower of frameworks that are designed elsewhere in Europe and the US. But for the first time, we have this opportunity to co-create some of the rules that are going to guide how finance reflects our priorities as Africans for growth, and also inclusion in the global financial system. So for us, we're proud to be able to lead this charge from being policy takers, for instance, to actually shaping the policies, Clement.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about redesigning global finance, what does that actually look like on the ground? Because you've mentioned that before, that Africa faces $100 billion annual infrastructure shortfall. So how do we even bridge that gap?
Yeah, look, it begins by first acknowledging that finance must just do more than move money. It actually should build societies. We should be using money from, for instance, shifting short-term flows to sort of long-term investments. And I'm glad you bring up in areas like energy, infrastructure, logistics, our building capacity with transnets, and then obviously more importantly now, digital systems. At Nedbank, for instance, what we've been doing is directing about 189 odd billion rands towards some of these sustainable development goals. So, for instance, we've invested about 47 billion rands in renewable energy and 29 billion in agriculture and a further 3 billion odd in water and sanitation. So these are the investments we should be making that shape societies, driving job creation, and also building resilience across the continent, Clement, not just in South Africa alone.
So some might ask, whether Africa has the institutional capacity to deliver on this scale. What gives you the confidence that it can?
Well, if we look at our institutions, whether it's asset management, asset managers, banks, pension funds, we actually have very strong institutions. They are well regulated. Their markets are reasonably deep. And so, for instance, we have capital strength that can give us this inclusive growth. In other words, we have the money. It's just a matter of driving the money towards sustainable and inclusive growth. For instance, in the SADC and East Africa region, we need to collaborate better with government, so through public-private partnerships, to make sure that this capital is directed towards long-term investments for infrastructure that's going to develop the continent at large, Clement.
So when we talk about finance being able to do more than just fund projects, and we want it to transform societies, how does that idea sort of translate into action?
Typically, it's when finance or when money, in simple terms, reaches the people. It reaches the areas where it is most needed. For instance, we have gone through a period as South Africa where we've had load shedding, and through renewable energy projects, for instance, we've been able to now power rural clinics, and when SMEs then also join the local supply chains, and when young technicians are then trained to maintain this infrastructure, that is when finance is working as a social catalyst. That's when it's reaching the places it needs to make an impact. And also, for our purposes at Nedbank, we've always said that we use our financial expertise to do good for people, for the planet, and also for the shared prosperity of the continent. So it is really literally directing the money to the areas that are most needed instead of just moving money for the sake of moving money, Clement.
Yeah. So it's a question I've been asking everyone I talk to ahead of the G20 Summit. What is Africa's message to the world as we head into this G20 Summit?
Clement, our message is simple. We're credible. Africa is ready. And we're very capable also and ready to collaborate with the global financial systems. From our perspective, we're actually ready, more ready than now, to co-create the systems that are going to shape our future. We hear every day people talking about Africa's abundance in minerals, and more recently, critical minerals, for instance. But we've been asking the question through this G20 process, critical for who? So it's our time now to shape that these critical minerals must work for Africa and also improve the lives of Africans. So finance must become an excellent lever that we can design our own progress and prosperity as Africans across the continent, Clement. This is what it's done for us as G20.
Well, Dr. Terence Sibiya, thank you so much for speaking to us. Managing Executive for the rest of Africa and Subsidiaries from Nedbank. The Clement Manyathela Show in conversation with Nedbank as the B20 Summit kicks off here on 702. It's 24 minutes now after 9 o'clock.